Witches, today we are going to be talking about incorporating your spiritual practice into some of your hobbies. Now, personally, this might just be me, I love anything with that witchy aesthetic, so I am always trying to take my practice and apply it to like other things that I do in my life. So whether it is gardening, whether it is designing clothing, whether it is going hiking or exercising, I'm always trying to find a way to make it just a little bit more witchy, a little bit more magical. And if that sounds like something that you would like to do as well, stay tuned. This is by no means a necessary practice when it comes to practicing witchcraft. You are absolutely allowed to separate your hobbies from your spirituality, and I in no way want to imply that you must apply witchcraft to every aspect of your life, because I feel like that's a little bit unsustainable. I just happen to be like really committed to the vibe, I guess. So I just tend to do that anyways. And as I have kind of grown in my practice, I have found so many unique ways and seen so many unique ways that people combine their spirituality and their hobbies and have this like really beautiful, like cohesive practice that is really nurturing, not only for them like mentally and emotionally, but also spiritually. So the first group of people I want to address are all of my fiber artists and crafters out there. One of the things that I think has very much influenced my practice, or something that I think is really, really cool that you could easily incorporate into any sort of like knitting or crocheting, quilting, sewing of any kind, any sort of fiber art, I really feel like this can apply to. That is to put intention into every stitch. So let's say you're knitting or crocheting a shawl. If you would like the intention for that shawl to be protection or keeping you safe while you are, doing whatever you got to do during the day, I would recommend using black yarn and to knit the intention of protection into every stitch. So I know you're counting, but between counts, maybe focusing really hard on that protective intention, having a black candle lit, maybe having some crystals in your knitting bag or your sewing bag that are associated with protection, obsidian and onyx. So that way, that garment that you're already making, that you are already crafting for yourself because it's something fabulous that you want to wear, now has that inherent metaphysical power, or that inherent metaphysical ability. There are tons of knot spells out there. If you would like more references on that, let me know and I can try to like make a little list for you. But I think that there is something very, very interesting about that. I see knot magic used a lot in making witches' ladders, as well as just like knot spells. So it's like, by knot of 1, this spell is done. By knot of 2, or this spell has begun, etc. I do have a video about that if you guys want to review it. But it's just a very cool way that as crafters, as people who knit or crochet, you can kind of just like weave magic into it, like quite literally. To kind of piggyback off of like fiber artists, I specifically went to school for fashion design. So whenever I am designing clothes, not only am I going for that kind of mystical aesthetic, of course, but I have designed a lot of like ritual robes, like things that I would wear for specific rituals. I've never actually made any of them. I've considered making them many times, but every time I'm just like, this is so complex. Like, cause I can't do anything simple. But if you're focusing on maybe or being inspired by your practice, I find that a lot of my inspiration for my own, and this goes for any artist, I would say, but for my own designs really comes from, like, example, in college, I was tasked with making a garment but not using fabric, so I decided to make mine a recreation of Herne the Hunter, but it was like it was all about like pollution and stuff. So I used like trash basically to make this fabulous cloak. It was awesome. I made the mannequin like 8 feet tall. It was a whole look. I mean, obviously, again, I don't do anything small, but that was a way that I was able to venerate my pagan deity, like even like low key, because I still wasn't really super talking about my practice at that point. And I was able to venerate a deity and do a devotional working under the guise of it just being fashion design. So that was like very cool for me. And hopefully that can serve as an example of how you can still kind of incorporate your spirituality into the things that you make. Now, you don't necessarily have to work with deities, of course. If you are into like maybe painting or drawing, consider using color magic to make your paintings a little bit more intentional. So if you're doing an intentional working of some kind that is a painting, maybe if you're making a sigil of tranquility for your house using blues, to like in all sorts of beautiful colors and organic shapes and stuff like that, instead of maybe having more rigid dark colors for a protective sigil for your house, something like that, you know what I mean? So using color magic in your work and your painting. So yeah, color magic is really applicable and very much tied to like candle magic, but you can also use it in everyday sort of thing. So I really love using color magic, talk about it a lot. So additionally, painters or illustrators might be inspired to bring mythology to life. So for example, I wanted to show you guys this because I think this artwork deserves a lot of recognition. A patron sent this to me, and it is the myth of the little man and the big oak. So they wrote out the myth for me and they had illustrated this, and Chris and I are going to be like matting it and putting it up in our house because we absolutely love it. But by being inspired by mythology, you can create some really, really beautiful artwork for sure. So just wanted to like show this. Kamade, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I was really floored, like I cried. It was really beautiful, so thank you. So if fiber arts or maybe visual arts aren't your thing, another hobby that is easily infusible with witchcraft is like making bath products, soaps, salves. My mom like really went through a phase where she was doing a lot of that, and honestly, it was super fun. So, you know, you can definitely find ways to incorporate herb magic, crystal magic maybe, or cleansing and healing workings. Like I feel like there's a lot of healing magic or potential for that in making these kind of bath products or like salves, whatever, soaps, oils, stuff like that. So if you are into herbalism, I definitely think that there is a way to not only work with like the medicinal properties of the plants, but making like items that are not only beneficial medicinally but also metaphysically. So similar to maybe making bath products, you can also apply some of the same concepts to candle making. And candle making is really fun because you can customize things for yourself. I see people making deity candles, which is really cool. I kind of like made my own. I got like just white pillar candles and put like stickers on them, like with the glass jars. Very cool, very simple, but people get like very like detailed with it, putting in herbs that correspond with their deities, crystals that correspond with their deities, having colors that correspond with their deities. That's not to say you have to work with deities. I see plenty of witches making intentional candles as well, which is amazing. I think that there is a lot of room to be creative and expressive with these different kind of hobbies. So I really recommend, if that is something that interests you, looking into it. It's very fun, it's really relaxing, and it's like very fulfilling to have like a product at the end of it. It's like, I made this is what I made. Recently, and I don't know if it's just the algorithm, but I have been seeing so many people doing really beautiful like book bindings or like making this really beautiful paper. It is definitely a hobby that takes a lot of time and patience and an expertise in a lot of different mediums. So to the bookbinders out there, I salute you because I do not have that time, patience, or precision. But I really feel like, you know, when I'm watching these videos, I can see people like putting their souls into these, like if that makes sense. That sounds very dramatic and I look very dramatic right now. It's not that deep, but I see people putting like a lot of time and effort and care, and I think that is so admirable and so cool. So I think that there are, you know, with bookbinding or making journals and stuff, there is a lot of like different ways you can, you know, you can have journals specifically intended for like shadow work, or, you know, be making these amazing, beautiful books of shadows for yourself, for other people, whatever, what have you, whatever you're called to do. But I think to have that set of skills is very, very cool. It's something that I think is a little bit overlooked that I very much appreciate. So yeah, I think that there is something really beautiful about making books. Next, another thing that I've seen very popular is kind of metalsmithing or wire wrapping of jewelry. And I think this is really cool because it's kind of this act of transformation and transmutation. You are alchemizing metals, you are making one thing into another, you're using all sorts of things like chemicals and heat and all of these things to go through to make metal bend to your will, basically, right? I know, again, very dramatic, but that's kind of a way you could look at it. It also provides an avenue for people to engage in earth magic via working with crystals, making some really beautiful wire wrapped crystals, or, you know, even crystals that are like set into things. Absolutely. Now, I've talked a lot about hobbies that result in an end product, but I don't think that all hobbies necessarily have to. Dance and general like exercise, whatever sport you are really into, actually, I think can be pretty spiritual. You know, we hear about people like religiously going to the gym, you know, but I think that there is a sense of like having time for yourself and doing stuff for yourself that I think is really awesome. So If you are interested in maybe dedicating an action to a deity, I personally do that. I dedicate my morning yoga practice to the Morrigan, who is my matron or patroness. I think that exercise or dance or just like movement can really be an act of self-improvement and self-care, and it's a wonderful way to raise energy, especially like before a ritual working. So I really recommend, like, you know, if you are a dancer, choreographing a dance that corresponds maybe with your intention, or to a song that maybe matches your intention. And if you're a musician, maybe either writing a song if that calls to you, or at least learning how to play a song that lines up with a specific intention for you. I think that making music can also be a really great devotional act for deities, especially if you work with a deity who is a patron of musicians, or bards perhaps. So whatever works the best for you. And the final hobby that I wanted to talk about, of course, is gardening and or farming. And I know that can kind of be like a career path for people. It's not like necessarily a hobby, but I think they kind of go together a little bit, so I wanted to talk about it. But I think that when you frame gardening or farming as the care of and nurturing of the land, or care of animals and creatures of the world, that is just such a special and sacred act. And I think that by infusing your spiritual practice, especially if it's like a very earth-based spiritual practice, into your gardening or farming hobbies, it is definitely a way to further your connection with the land, further not only your spiritual practice, but maybe see an improvement or a deeper healing, I guess, sense of healing or sense of fulfillment from gardening or taking care of animals. So that's kind of my 2 cents on all of this. You are free to apply witchcraft to whatever aspects of your life that you want. If you do have any other hobbies and examples of how you have kind of done that, interwoven some witchcraft into your daily hobbies, or perhaps mundane tasks, your job, whatever works for you, whatever you want to talk about, I would love to hear about it in the comments. And I will see you guys on Friday. Bye.